welcome to this episode of I'm Here for the Soul. Now, to get started, this is a little bit of a girl chat, a little bit of a check-in. Everybody's welcome, but I probably will be aiming it at women. And I basically felt inspired to do it because we are literally at the finish line now. We are about to start the year 2024. And I don't know what it is, but I've got a really great feeling about this year. I don't know about any of you guys, but I just feel very optimistic about this year. I don't know what to expect. And I just feel like I'm in a more peaceful place. Personally as well, things have been, going better. Obviously, I've still had like the normal stress. I just feel like that is just how life is. And when I was having a conversation with my mum the other day, I was actually telling her that the harder parts of my life make the sweet moments sweeter, because it's balance that makes us appreciate things. And I just wanted to share that with you guys because I felt like that was a nice way of switching your perspective. So instead of thinking, wow, this has been like a really stressful week, you should actually treasure those moments where everything just feels so light, feels so nice. And the reason why you're able to appreciate that is because you've been through harder times. So, everything's just a balance. And something that I want to speak about in this episode actually is the power of being resilient. Because one thing that I have realized is that the world don't stop spinning just because we are stressed out. The world doesn't stop spinning because we feel tired. Everything keeps going as normal. And what I realized is that it's not the tough times that define us, it's how we handle those moments that define us. There was a quote that I read a few years ago, and it said like life is 10% of what happens to us and 90% of how we react to it. Now, it sounds so simple, but what it's basically saying is that the power is in our hands. Like, we decide what we do with ourselves, we decide what we do with our lives, and we also decide how we respond to situations. So, with that said, I want to focus on the power of manifestation. So, I'm quite a spiritual girl, and I'm not even sure like how many people actually know this about me or not, because I feel like on my Instagram, it's very like surface level stuff. Like, I'll just post a pic and keep it moving. I'm not really the type of person to like post on my stories or talk on my stories or do a live or anything like that. And that's one of the reasons why I created a podcast page separately on my Instagram, because I thought if people want to see a different side to my content, then they'll get that from the podcast page. So, but yeah, I am a spiritual girl, and I'm not like super spiritual, but I feel like I'm very in tune with my emotions. I'm very in tune with my growth, and building relationships and connecting with people is important to me. And I think I got into this when I was in my like late teens. I just had this feeling that I just needed to change something. I was kind of like hanging around with the wrong people, and interacting with people that I knew wasn't right for me. And whenever I sort of went against my intuition, it always backfired. So I decided to kind of lean into my soul rather than, ignore it. And I think that's where the turning point was for me, when I realized that I wanted to tap into the higher version of myself. So in order to operate at a higher version of yourself, it's very important that we don't hold on to the past. And the reason why I say that is because the past should only really be there to serve us as what we can learn from it. But anything else is unnecessary. Dwelling on the past and everything is just unnecessary, because, you can't change anything that's happened. And even just like, I don't know, you had a bad relationship, for example, and you broke up, and it's been like 6 months now. Like, you need to kind of get yourself away from that energy and tap into some new energy and build new connections with people. You don't have to like start dating or meeting new people, but just spend time with yourself and get to know yourself and find out what it is that you like and find out how you can be the best version of yourself, and write down a list of goals and like where you sort of see yourself in the near future. Now I'm just going to take a sip of my tea, a little bit of a herbal tea. As you can see, it is evening here. The only thing that is lighting this corner right now is my ring light and the lamp that I have in the corner, but it is pretty much chill evening vibes. And I thought, let me just check in and just do something a little bit different, because as I say, I don't really show this side of myself online, and I thought it could be of interest to somebody. Now, with people that are actually in my real life, like my friends and everything, they know that I speak like this because we always have conversations like this. And it always feels so good after, when we just, you know, talk about things that are bothering us or talk about our past, and then we just let it go and we reflect on where we are now. So yeah, the only time that you should really look into your past is if you want to learn from something or just see how far you've come. But don't get stuck there, because you're not that person anymore. The person that existed last year and the year before and the year before that no longer exists. You know, they exist in pictures, they exist in memories, but the person who you ultimately are is the person that you are right now. So to be in your higher self, you really need to like live in the present moment. And to be honest, I can be quite guilty of this, because I find myself constantly thinking about my future and wondering, where am I going to be? You know, am I going to achieve my goals? And I'm constantly writing like to-do lists. And, you know, so when I say this, I'm also speaking to myself, because I know that I need to just enjoy the present moment more and just be still. And I also want to cut down time on my phone as well. I don't use it all the time, but like if I'm walking from like A to B, I will put my headphones in and I'll listen to music. And even in the mornings, I will like, you know, check my phone like a lot of us do. And I actually just want to spend more time just sat with my thoughts and building a morning routine, which is something that I actually want to speak about today as well, but not yet. So another thing that I want to talk about as well, and I'm just looking down at my notes for people that are watching the video version, but another thing that I want to talk about as well is not only letting go of the past, but looking at your present situation and knowing when it's time to leave. Yes. We've all been there, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, somebody that you're just casually dating, a job. We all have that little voice in our heads that say, it's time. We can feel it, but we don't necessarily act on it. Now, I understand I'm the type of person where, like, if I'm not 100% sure about something, I will hold on to it just in case. So, say if, like, I have a friendship and I know that it's a bad friendship, but I want to give that person the benefit of the doubt, I might give them an extra week more than what they need. Not necessarily, I think that's quite a bad example actually, because I have really great friends in my life right now, so I've not really had that feeling for a while. So maybe like in dating would be a better example. Like if I'm seeing somebody and I just feel like this isn't it, there's a part of me that has already built a connection with that person. So I'm thinking to myself, we get on so well, we have a lot of chemistry, like, you know, maybe letting go is a little bit too rash, you know, a bit too harsh, you know. But there's a voice in your head that has been telling you for weeks that this is not it. This is not it. The person does not make you feel good anymore. A really good sign of this is when you see their name come up in your notification, and the excitement that you used to feel is now just your stomach dropping. If your stomach drops when somebody messages you, that is a sign that that person is not supposed to be in your life. When you're communicating with somebody, it's supposed to be fun and light-hearted, especially if you know, you guys are not official and you're just like you know, going on dates and enjoying each other's company. Like this should be like the honeymoon period. If you are feeling nervous for an extended period of time, that could also be a sign as well, because when you are around somebody that makes you feel good, you actually feel quite relaxed. And I've experienced this recently where like I just met someone and we just like hit it off and everything just feels so calm. And I never message them and think, oh, I'm bugging them with too much information about my day, because you know they're also the same way, where they're also sending me messages and telling me about their day. Like we just, you know, we're both very open people, so I don't feel like I'm bothering them. Whereas a person that I was speaking to before, if like whenever they pulled back, I pulled back. So because I could see that they were not giving their 100%, I stopped giving my 100%. If they stopped telling me about what their plans were, I wouldn't tell them what my plans were. And then I realized that I wasn't even being the true, authentic version of myself. Like, how crazy is that? I'm supposed to be having a good time and I'm giving about 50% of myself. This is not even my personality anymore. And if somebody makes you feel like you have to hide who you are as a person, that's also just not it. And the thing is as well is that like I'm very pleased with my characteristics. So it's not as if I was ashamed to be who I was, but this person didn't make me feel comfortable enough to be that way. I thought, why should I open myself up to someone who is like giving me like 20% or 50% or 75% of themselves? Like, why should I pull myself to that person? But if you find yourself thinking like that, you're probably forcing the situation at that point. And I know this is the rough truth. And this could be applied to, like I say, lots of different situations. This could be applied to relationships, friendships, dating. Like, it's just knowing when it's time to leave. And I can't really tell you, like, what traits are positive and negative. I can give you the basics, but everybody's got different style. Like, some people may prefer, like, minimum communication. Some people may actually prefer that. Some people may think, actually, I don't want to date someone that messages me 10 times a day, and that's fine. Like, they could just take a message like once a week or whatever. So it's all about finding what's right for you. But what my message is that you have to start doing things that feel good. Otherwise, what's the point? Nobody's holding a gun to your head and saying you have to do this. You have to go to brunch with this person. You have to spend time with this person. You have to message this person at 8 p.m. every night. Like, nobody's telling you to do that. So why do it to yourself? And I also feel like it's harder to live an authentic life if you are allowing people like that around you as well. In order to live an authentic life, it's important that we make connections that feel good. Honestly, because when you elevate the people that are around you, everything else in life feels so much easier. Like, even if you had like a really stressful day at work, you are tired, you can't wait to get home, you know, you know, the week's not even over and you're finished. But you have a great circle of friends that who you can laugh with. You have a group chat that is popping. You have a group chat where you're talking about goals and when you're next going abroad. You have a circle of friends where if you're going for a really tough time, you can tell them and they'll be there for you. Like, life is already hard enough. So when you find your tribe, when you find your people, everything just feels so much easier. And I'm speaking as somebody that has got really great friends and really amazing people in my life. Like, no matter how tired I am, I enjoy going to check my phone and seeing who's messaged me and, you know, connecting with people and making plans with people. So that's why it's so important to know when a connection is not for you. Because if you're life is already hard. Do you really want to have a stressful day at university or a stressful day at work, and then now you got to look at your phone and it's that guy who is not meeting up to your standards? Like, that is just ridiculous. Like, you can't really control every single situation that happens, but you can control who you communicate with, who you date, and who you allow around you. So keep your boundaries firm. If a person is not treating you the way how you feel like you deserve to be, let them know that if nothing changes, it's time to leave. And that's what boundaries are. Boundaries are, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. And also being open to hearing feedback as well, because I think we are so used to looking at other people's flaws that we don't often sit down with ourselves and say, what can we change? How can I be a better friend? You know, how can I be a better person to date? Like, you got to check in with yourself as well. So don't just, you know, look at others and ask them what they bring to the table. You really need to also be about that life yourself. Okay, so another thing that I think is important to do at this time of year is being clear on your goals and your vision. So what is it that you want to do? And when you know about it, write it down. Now, for my birthday, mic drop. For my birthday this year, I actually went into a different city, took myself out for a solo brunch. It was amazing. And I then went to pick up a journal. And I knew that I wanted to get a journal because I have notebooks everywhere, but they were all just, you know, filled with like to-do lists and work and stuff like that. It had been a while since I actually brought like an actual journal designed just to journal, not to write to-do lists, not to write tasks for the day, not to jot down any work or anything, but just a journal that I can just write my thoughts. So I brought it and I started writing in it pretty much straight away and reflected on how I felt about, you know, turning 29 and what my hope for this year was and how life felt very different. I also got the keys to a new place a few months before my birthday. So it kind of felt like a full circle moment where everything was happening at the same time. Like I really felt like I was at the beginning of a new era in my life. So I would definitely recommend to get a journal as soon as you can and just give yourself a deadline, like maybe just give yourself a year, or okay, maybe a year is a bit intense. I'd say like give yourself a few weeks of journaling consistently every morning and see if it makes any difference. Now, I don't get a chance to write in there every morning because sometimes I go to bed late and then I need to get up early, so I'll just get up and get ready and just go and do what I need to do. But one of my goals for this year is to have a detailed morning routine where I wake up, I journal, do a stretch, do a little bit of yoga. And, you know, people always talk about entrepreneurs and lots of different successful people always talk about how having a morning routine really helps set the intention for the rest of your day. So that's one of the reasons why I want to have a morning routine. It's just taking that time of like self-care. I feel like people prioritize like the night, and I was definitely one of those people that prioritize nighttime to do what I wanted to do. But the thing about that is, if you get into a routine of trying to get too much done at night, you're then more likely to go to bed late, which will then throw off your energy for the next day because you're starting the day tired before you've even started. And that's one of the reasons why I want to sort of switch to a morning routine and then use my evenings to just kind of decompress from the day. So that is one of my goals. And it's very hard because I am not a 9 p.m. babe. I'm not a 9 p.m. babe. I'm not one of those women who are literally in bed before 10 o'clock and up at 5 a.m. But that is the goal. That is the goal. So when I do have a fixed morning routine, I will do a whole episode dedicated to that. And it will just be great for people who may want to have an example of what a morning routine is, or you might just want to hear how it's working for me so that you can then incorporate it to yourselves, or, you know, so I will definitely do an update on that. But I also want to give myself exercises as well to do within the journal. So like there's a YouTuber that I like to watch. Her name's Hailey Gamba. So if you guys do like watching YouTubers, and I'd highly recommend to check her out. And she mentioned that you should do like oh, it wasn't actually her. I'm sorry. It was another YouTuber, but Haley Gambit does do a lot of manifestation videos as well. But there was another YouTuber that basically said, like, do a day in the life of the higher version of yourself. And I just thought that was just golden. Like, write down a day in the life of a higher version of yourself. So I have heard of similar stuff where you basically write what your dream version of you looks like how you act, what you do. So I have pretty much done that already, but I've never actually written like a day in the life, like, oh, she wakes up in the morning and she does X, Y, and Z. Like, what I wrote down was more like, this is what you do, this is how you, this is who you are now. Like, just I was just kind of like writing it in sort of like a general sense. I think I wrote down like things that I would eat, how I would dress, what job I would have, but like I've not actually written it like she wakes up at 5 a.m. and then, you know, like a very detailed day in the like it's actually you in the day of the life, but of your, like, you're writing down you, but the dream version of you just waking up and doing what the dream version of you does. Okay, I hope you guys caught that. Another thing that I want to do this year and that I recommend listeners do is become resilient. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about letting go of your past and things like that. And the reason why I said become resilient is because you're never going to be able to control every single thing. You can't control how people view you. You can't control you know, the problems that the world is facing. I know it's been a very stressful time right now for a lot of people. There's a lot of things that are out of our control as human beings. But what separates the great from the people that may be like falling down a bit of a rabbit hole is the power of being resilient, the power of actually just getting up and showing up for yourself every single day. Because what happens is you become bulletproof in your own life. So imagine you had, like, I don't know, a really like stressful family situation, or you had a really stressful time with a partner, or just, you know, it's just a normal, like a setback in life. So you have two choices. You can either hide away, bury your head in the sand, and unfortunately it's not going to change anything because the situation is already set. But if you decide to actually just look the problem in the eye and say, this sucks, but guess what? The show must go on. Then you are going to still accomplish what you were supposed to accomplish. You're still going to see your dreams manifest. And then when the problems fade away and you can actually look at things with clear eyes, you are going to be so grateful that you held on and you got yourself through your toughest times. Because that's what happens. I feel like a lot of life is ups and downs, it ebbs and flows. And eventually you will get to that space where everything has calmed down, everything's balanced out, the problems that you were facing have now drifted away. And instead of being left in a situation where you now got to catch up, you've got to catch up on everything, you've got to catch up on all these things that you've missed out on, you're able to just pick up where you left off and keep going because you never stopped. That's the power of being resilient. You just keep going, you keep going, you keep going, and then you'll get to the top of the mountain and you'll be able to take in the view. But the thing is, if we try to avoid our responsibilities, they don't necessarily go away, they only build. And that's why it's important to become resilient. And in order to become resilient, you have to have healthy routines in place with yourself. So if you know that you find it difficult to function on a little amount of sleep, then make sure you go to bed at a reasonable time. I'm talking to myself here because I find it difficult to get up in the mornings and I don't go to bed early. So, you know, And I say that because I just want people to know that they're not alone. I don't want to come onto this podcast and be like, hey, you should do this and you should do that. And then it's like, I'm not even doing it myself. Like, when I speak on this podcast, it's coming from a place of let's do this together, because I genuinely feel like sometimes we just need people around us to kind of give us that encouragement. And I just feel like I learned so many gems by speaking to people on this podcast. And that's one of the reasons why I love to get people on the show. I know that some people have podcasts and they'll do a solo episode pretty much for every episode, but for me, I like to hear a variety of experiences. I like to hear a variety of voices. But I also feel like it's important to come on and check in and do these solo episodes as well, so that I can connect with the audience and so that they can get to know me as the host. Because, you know, if you're going to take the time to listen to my podcast, I feel like the least I can do is take that time to like share some things that I have learned, so that you can walk away and feel like, you know, you have learned something new. And I actually watched a fitness podcast, not podcast, it was a documentary, sorry. And the woman in the documentary was basically saying, become resilient, like be so good that nobody can ignore you, like be so good that you cannot be ignored. And I will link the documentary in the description of this podcast if people wanted to check it out. And even though the documentary itself was about women and, well, it's about her journey in fitness, I feel like fitness, the way how people look at fitness is the exact same way how people can look at life. Because in order to be good at fitness, you've got to be resilient, you've got to be consistent, and you've got to show up for yourself. So that type of attitude could really be applied for how we deal with life. So, and she was saying in the documentary, like, don't, just because your boyfriend broke up with you, blah, blah, blah. She was like, you just need to show up and get things done. And she was talking about how she thrives off of challenges. Like, challenges just get her pumping, get her ready. And she thrives off of that. You know, she went to university and studied a really difficult course, but she loved that challenge. And I think that's something that, like, we need to do more of. A lot of the time when we face challenges, the first thing we think is like run and hide. But like, why not use that as our motivation? Like, why not instead of putting our energy into worry and fear and stress, why not put that same energy and put it into chasing goals, ticking off the list, getting things done, and just having a go? Like, just have a go. You know, don't ask for a seat at the table, build one. That's the kind of energy that I want to be on in 2024. So yeah, becoming resilient. And my last point for this manifestation episode is practicing self-care. Yes, I just took a sip of my tea, again, for anyone that's listening and not watching. But yes, practicing self-care. That is so important. That is so important. And the reason why I say that is because you can't have a car that's low on fuel and be expecting it to like go up a hill. The car is not going to go anywhere if you don't put gas in it. Similar how we won't get anywhere if we don't give ourselves some rest. Like, and I know that it's not practical for everybody to just neglect their responsibilities for the day. But if you can take a day, just a day, to decompress, watch TV, put a face mask on, drink herbal tea. If you can just take a day to do that, please do it. You know, you got to treat yourself. And it doesn't even need to be like a day. You could just take an evening. So when you finish work, instead of going to watch TV or talking to your friends on the phone, just run a bath. Like, just run a bubble bath, order a takeaway so you don't have to cook that night, and just do you. Just sit back, reflect, listen to some good music. One of my guilty pleasures is old school R&B, like old school R&B, or just any R&B in general. Like when I want to chill, I'll just put some R&B on. Sometimes I might listen to some old school hip hop. It doesn't really matter. Basically, my point is just play some music and vibe, like sing the lyrics, dance in your kitchen whilst you're washing the pots, like just romanticize these moments and just enjoy it. Pour back into yourself. Take times to like laugh. Think of all the times that you've just laughed so hard, and just reflect on that, and even write a list. Maybe like this may be a good time to take your journal out when you're having a self-care evening. Take your journal out and write down all of the things that make you happy. And then you could write a list of the things that you plan to do this year. What are the things that you plan to do this year that you haven't done yet, or you've not done in a while? So, and I'll be doing that too. And let me know as well if you want more of these manifestation episodes, because I've been thinking about coming onto the podcast and like journaling or reading out a few of my journal prompts, or even giving you guys some journal prompts. So say if you're a person that doesn't journal often, I can give you different topics to write about. So one journal prompt could be a day in the life of you and your higher self, for example. Another journal prompt that I wrote down is 30 things that I want to do before 30. So for people in their 20s, that'll be a really fun exercise. And if you are in your mid-20s, then you are very lucky because you have a few years to get through the list, okay? The 28 and the 29-year-olds, we are not okay. We are literally staring at 30 in the face. 30 is staring at us in the face. No, but it's cool. It's all fun. And I was talking to somebody the other day actually who she actually gave me the idea to write this list because she's also 29. And she says, make sure to make some of them fun because time goes fast. Her birthday was before mine. And I thought that was just such great advice. Make them fun because time goes fast. And what that does is it takes the pressure off of yourself. Like, you could literally write down, like, I don't know, read 3 books every, I don't know, 2 months, or it could just even be like read more books. So that's very simple. Like, it's very doable to read more books. If you know that you could read more books and you don't read more books, you could write down on your list of 30 things to do before 30, read more books. You could put down something like start a new series every month. Like, it could be something so simple. We don't have to be like, oh, become a lawyer before the age of 30. Like, they don't have to be like super serious, because then you're just putting pressure on yourself, and then what's the point in that? Now you're just stressing yourself out for no reason. The whole point is just to be able to look back on your list and reflect and see all of the cool things that you did. So, you know, make them fun. One of mine actually was to get some roller skates. I've been wanting to roller skate since 2020, and for some reason I never got around to it. So this year is going to be my year. So if I am, you know, rolling, if you see me rolling down the hill somewhere on my roller skates, I'll probably be listening to 70s music through my headphones. I don't know why, because I associate roller skates with like the 1970s. So I feel like if I put a story together of me roller skating, the music in the background is going to be like 1970s music, you know. And my hair is actually giving 1970s right now. I did a silk press. Well, I didn't do it myself. I went to the hairdressers, got a silk press, and my hair is, because it's natural, it's already starting to revert, but I like it. It looks fluffy, it looks light. My hair is very healthy right now. I'm probably going to put it back into braids. So, but yeah, it's a vibe. I'm giving 1970s skater girl vibes. So, but yes, on that note, okay, I'm going to leave you guys, but you know, please listen out to more podcast episodes where I'm going to talk about business, self-care, and beauty. And if there's anything else that you guys want me to discuss, then obviously just let me know. Just hit me up on Instagram or wherever you find my videos, or audio clips, just let me know. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week and have a lovely new year. Okay, take care, guys.